13 for us in the early kickoff today at the Etihad. We are the two form teams in the league, and with new Champions League ambitions of their own, it's sure to be a cracking match ahead. And we certainly won't be shirking any tackles in the studio today, or indeed any talking points, as I am joined by Richard Dunne and Michael Brown. But we're going to get straight into the team news, because it is an exciting team news today. Loads of changes, 7 changes from the Champions League game, and a name in there I'm sure you're all going to be very happy is starting. So our team news for today. In goal is Ederson. Then we've got a back four of Zinchenko, Stones, Diaz and Walker. And then moving into midfield, Fernandinho, Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Riyad Mahrez, Ferran Torres. And then starting today, he is back, and I am so happy, it is Sergio Aguero. And then looking to the substitutes bench, you've got Stefan, Laporte, Mendy, João Cancelo, Rodri, Silva, Foden, Sterling and Jesus. Thank you very much. So, gents, straight onto it. Sergio Aguero is starting, Richard.
Yeah, it's great to see him back. I think everyone's been wanting him to play and get back out on the pitch and get scoring goals, and he gives Man City a real focal point when they go forward. I think the West Ham players will know when Sergio plays there's normally goals, so they'll be wary of that. And you look at the team, there's 7 changes from a midweek Champions League game, and the side still looks as strong as that. And, you know, so the squad is brilliant, the form's great, and it's an exciting day, hopefully.
What do the 7 changes say to you, Michael? Why so many changes?
I think we're going to have to expect that now. We've seen Pep Guardiola come out and explain that players are not going to play week in, week out. They've got to understand that there's going to be rotations. I was speaking to Richard before about it. It must be difficult at times when there's a certain game that it's a bigger game, you want to be involved. Champions League for sure is one you definitely want to. And you've got to understand there's a queue now. There's so many games. You've got to rotate to be successful. So, listen, it's just exciting news. Finally, seeing Sergio Aguero back on the pitch. I think it's October the 24th since he last started a game, so that just tells you at West Ham. So it's remarkable to have him back. We all want to see that, and so hopefully he can get a goal. So yeah, really strong side, lots of changes, but really, I don't think it affects them.
It's so true about the changes, because when I look at the team sheet, I get excited. I'm like, oh, Kevin De Bruyne is starting, Sergio Aguero is starting, and then I realise, oh, that means Phil Foden's on the bench. But that's just, again, another testament to the depth that we have, across pretty much every position now, Richard.
Yeah, and that's what it's going to take. I mean, this could be an incredible year, really, with the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Champions League and the Premier League, all still possibilities. And to get a squad like that, it means you need to manage them well. So what you've seen from the manager is rotating them, giving them minutes on the pitch. And nobody seems too upset. Everyone knows they're getting the right amount of time. And as long as he can keep that sort of frame of mind going through to the end of the season, it's like Laporte isn't playing today, but you know he's encouraging Diaz and Stones, and having that togetherness within the squad is going to be so important. And to keep that, you need to give people time to play.
And talking about Laporte there, we are really blessed this season to have 3 incredible centre-backs who are all in brilliant form. If I had to push you, could you pick your favourite partnership, or is that just, you're just happy with the rotation?
It's so difficult. There's not a bad player amongst them to start with, you know. So obviously in a centre back pairing, there's only two positions available. So someone's going to have to come out, and what does work for them is Diaz. I think Diaz is the mainstay, the one that can organise the two of them, whether it be Stones or Laporte. I think if you look at it from a balance point of view, maybe Laporte on the left foot coming out on the left side maybe makes it a bit better, but the form that John Stones has been in since he's come back into the side, he deserves to play, and I don't think there's any right or wrong partnership at the moment.
Come on, Richard. Stop messing about. Well, we had the same conversation with Andy Morrison, didn't we? We really tried to push him and say, come on, you've got to pick 2. And we kept pushing, and he danced. It's so difficult, isn't it?
It's near impossible. Do you know what? I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I know Diaz is like that mainstay, that person who's being solid and you would pick him every week. for me, my favourite one at the moment is Stones. The way he's playing, I just think he's outstanding. So if you're going off that, I would say Stones and Diaz are probably the strongest two at the moment. But who's going to say, oh, what about Laporte and all that stuff? And I get it, but it's so difficult to pick.
It's a huge call, isn't it? And I think
huge.
Different games suit as well. So you can look and say, well, OK, it's Mikel Antonio today, so do we have that particular pairing? And you've got to look at what you're coming against. It's a nice problem, isn't it? And if it's a team who have got a high press, you probably want John Stones in the team to be able to be comfortable coming out of defence with the ball. But when you haven't, you can change that as well. So I think it's a nice blend.
I think it's a brilliant problem to have. Do you remember last year we were talking about how we didn't really have any central defenders that were fit, and we were pulling our hair out, and now we're blessed with 3, and we're also blessed with options, other options in defence as well. Today we've got Zinchenko playing, and I think he's been in great form this season. He's obviously feeling very happy just now as well, as we can see when he was arriving this morning to the stadium. He'd obviously planned ahead. I'm going to guess that he's a bit of an animal man, because Zinchenko brought treats for the service dogs. The dogs that work the game, look at him. He pre-brought the treats to share with the dogs. I absolutely love that. And I feel bad now because I walked past those dogs this morning and didn't give them anything. Although, to be fair, I didn't think you were supposed to bother a service dog. But Zinchenko, heart of gold, clearly there. Feeling good. How do you think Zinchenko's been playing this season, Richard?
I think he's done really well, and I think when you look throughout the squad, and we talked about the centre-half pairings and stuff like that, there's not a player who's out of form at the moment. Everyone seems to be close or at the top, and certainly Zinchenko, he's come in and he's one of the players that takes that Cancelo role where he'll come in and play in the centre midfield and give that bit of freedom to go forward. And I think his technical ability lends that to him. He can play there and he can do it. And maybe the one criticism you may have him is try and get a couple more goals, and I'm sure he's desperate to get a goal himself. But in terms of form, I think he's been great.
And then moving up the pitch, I want to talk, I know we mentioned it briefly, but I love him. He's my favourite City player of all time. So let's just have a few minutes to just bask in the glory of the fact that Sergio Aguero is back. How perfect timing, really, Michael, for him to be coming back now, starting now, when we really are in the business end of the season. How happy are you to see him back? Yeah,
it's great. And I think when you come to the games which are the business end of the season, where it's critical you take opportunities or you have that sort of personnel, Aguero being fit, he might not play 90 minutes, it might be 60 minutes, some games it might be 30 minutes, but if you need a goal, and it's a tight game in qualifying sort of Champions League games, cup finals, etc., he'd be the one you would want. He's the best finisher in the business. We know that's what it is. But I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to get up and running with the pace. That's only natural with his age, with the injuries and the demands of the Premier League. But still, if the ball comes anywhere near, I fancy him to score, because that's an instinct, that's clinical what he has, and that sharpness, I think he'll be okay with that. Because he knows how he has that confidence, he has that, I don't know, just the caresses the ball in. He's the best. But ultimately, for the rest of it to fit into Pep Guardiola's style to suit the whole team, it's going to take him a little while to get the running up to speed, I would say.
Oh, I just love him so much. And he's obviously in a good mood as well. There is good moods all around the Etihad today, because before the game we managed to get a rare Sergio Aguero interview.
Sergio, welcome back. It's your first start in 4 months. It must have been difficult waiting all that time.
Yeah, so I'm happy to be back. So I'm with good feelings. So I hope to have a good game, no?
And you're returning at the right time, as you're on a chase for 4 different cups and titles. It's going to be a big finish to the season. It's great to be involved.
Yeah, no. I think I'm feeling good. So we are good, the team. So for me, we have to play the same way, no?
Are you good at watching? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I enjoy, but I prefer to play, no? Always.
And the last time you played, it started a game, was against West Ham 4 months ago. Here they are again. In that time, West Ham have got much better, haven't they? They're in great form at the moment.
Yeah, long time that game. So they are strong. West Ham now they are top 4. So I think we have to to play like as always lo último partido, the last games, no? So we had to keep the same. For me, we are a good moment, so we had to keep this way.
Well done. Welcome back.
Yeah,
Thanks, Sergio.
thank you.
Yes, welcome back, Sergio. We are so happy to have you back in the starting lineup. And it was, as it was mentioned there, the last time he started was against West Ham last year, sort of 4 months ago now. And in that time, West Ham have hit some incredible form. Michael, what do you make of them this season? Well,
they've changed from a back five to a back four. David Moyes, you know what he expects from his side. His work rate, teamwork, everybody has to be on board first and foremost, and now they've got that little bit of confidence. We talk about the supporters not being at the ground. I think it's allowed them particularly to go on about their business, just do what they need to do, tick over without that little bit of pressure. The West Ham supporters demand better than what they've been getting, and rightly so. They deserve the team being higher up in the table. But now they've got confidence. They've got a great belief since the turn of the year. Second form team to Manchester City. So they're doing something correct, and they had a great win against their local rivals last week, Spurs. Mikel Antonio at the top of the pitch. He's like sort of a fox in the box at the moment. 42 goals, all inside the penalty area. Every one of his goals have been inside the penalty area. So the key is, we're talking about Stones, Diaz, just keep him out of there. That's the aim, try and push up the pitch. But no, they really are dangerous at the moment, and they're very hard to beat at times.
That's an insane stat. That really is interesting, because they do have some really talented players, littered across the team. You talk about Antonio, obviously Declan Rice, and then Souček as well is having a phenomenal season. Richard, he seems to be really lethal in the air. How would you go about defending somebody like him?
Yeah, he seems to be a sort of a carbon copy of what Moyes had at Everton, in a Fellaini style sort of player, someone who can cause trouble, who can disrupt the game, and his instincts in the box have been great. His movement around the box to get into positions to score goals has been really good, and generally with a player like that, he has backup. When you look at Dawson as well, another player, so as a defence you're looking at them thinking, right, we'll get him and then the next one will score or something like that. So the best bet is don't concede free kicks, don't concede corners, try and keep them outside the box and make it difficult for them, because I remember a goal he scored against Everton and it was a bit of a cross come shot, but he was the one who reacted quickly. So as well as being great in the air, he's also got that instinct to be in the right place at the right time, and certainly they have the potential today to cause City trouble because they have played so well, because they are difficult to break down, and they have that.
He's got amazing legs, he has, Souček, the amount of distance that he covers, and he's got a desire. He's been knocked back throughout of his career, and now all of a sudden, all the hard work's kept coming. So he's just got amazing desire to keep doing well. And he's got a great pairing. Declan Rice, as we know, can grace a lot of teams in the Premier League. We know for sure. People like him, want to take him higher up than West Ham, and he has a great blend of two of them. And it's not often in the Premier League now you can play two midfielders, especially with one of them making the box in Souček, but that tells you how good the pairing are. Declan Rice, Souček, great combination, and they've got some dangerous players as well. We've seen Ben Rama, now Lingard coming in and getting goals, 3 goals in 4 games, so dangerous players. I think they're a really good balanced team, is what a supporter would want from the side. They've got real good, hard-working sort of team ethics and getting results.
Lingard seems like a bit of a man reborn since joining there. Obviously, it's not been long now. He came in January, had a torrid time at United towards the end. What do you make of him joining this West Ham team? Why is he? How can you go? I mean, if you've been at a point, how can you go from one team where you're playing awful, join another team and hit this incredible run of form?
I think you've got to look at ultimately that there was a lot of players ahead of him at Manchester United who were maybe or arguably doing a little bit better, and it just happens. You become a little bit stale and realise that you're not the main player. You're not going to play every week, and it's hard to take mentally. And I felt the move was a perfect one for all parties. The loan move to go to West Ham of a manager who knew him in David Moyes, who would get the best out of him, and I think he put his arm around him, and to go and score early. And then to get going, it couldn't have gone any better. Jared Bowen can play in there as well. So I think he was another little bit of sparkle that they didn't have. And he's gone really well. And he's dangerous. We know he's got that great ability. And it's pleasing for a player now who really you would have expected a better career. You would have expected him to play more than he has. And now hopefully he's found the right place for him. But he's gone into a club who are doing well. So it's much easier to go and join that dressing room. That you can see that they're enjoying the football because they're getting results.
Yeah, he's going to want to score today, isn't he? He's going to want to score today against former rivals. So let's very much hope that doesn't happen. Let's have a quick look at the rest of the West Ham team as well. So we're going to have a little look there. So in goal, they've got Randolph, and then what we think looks like a back three there of Diop, Dawson and Cresswell. And then moving into midfield, Kufal, Souček, Rice and Johnson. And then sort of moving up there, you've got Lingard, Fornals and then Mikel Antonio at the top there. So as we mentioned, they do definitely have players littered in that team that are super talented, but they are just on this phenomenal run at the minute. I have a friend who is a West Ham fan, Richard, and he said literally his words were, if we finish in the top four, that is a sign of the apocalypse and the end of the world, because they literally, he's so used to them not doing well. Do you actually think that team could finish in the top four?
I would look at it on paper and probably say no. But when you see the performances that they've put in over recent weeks and the way the Premier League has been this season, there's been lots of inconsistencies around the top four. So why not? I mean, David Moyes has them playing really well. They're playing for each other. Like Michael says, they're playing as a team and they're strong and they're all happy and they're all looking forward. And they'll be coming here, and probably the first time in a long time, they're probably coming here without fear. Probably thinking, look, we're doing well. We're a good side, let's go and play. And they will cause not only City but other teams problems throughout the year. And if they did finish in the top four, well, that would be a real turn up for the Bucks, and I'm sure the fans' heads will be shocked.
So it's ironic, the game they played at home that the supporters were allowed in, I think they lost. So it just tells you, like, fans are we really want you back, but at the moment, can we just leave this a little bit longer, when everybody else is calling for the supporters to come back at West Ham? I think the players are thinking, can we just a touch longer, see if we could just wait till towards the end of the season. But yeah, they're going really well, aren't they? And they've been playing with a back four to beat Spurs last week, and he's done his homework. It looks like he's going to go with a 3-4-3 sort of formation, and I felt that would probably suit them a little bit better against Manchester City. In wide areas, we talk about full-backs going centrally to get involved, Cancelo, Zinchenko, Walker. I think that might be a little bit better for them, a bit more equipped. But they're a dangerous side, but we might not see as much danger from them today. They might have to sit in and be patient and think, well, we're going to be hard to beat, wait for opportunities, wait for a set piece, wait for some crosses if they can get Souček and Mikel Antonio on the end of something.
I do have a bit of a soft spot for West Ham. I've had some cracking away days down at West Ham. And I also think it's something to do with David Moyes, because obviously he had a really torrid time at United as well. And I've got to admit, I'd absolutely love it if West Ham finish above United. Imagine West Ham finish in the top four and United and Liverpool don't. That'd be brilliant. Why do you think, similar to the Lingard question, Moyes had such a torrid time at United and then he's come to West Ham, and obviously it wasn't easy last year. They were nearly relegated last year, and this year, you know, they're obviously doing really well. What is it then? What's the difference between one club and another with a manager?
I think you've got to look at personnel, expectation. At Manchester United, when he went in, you're following Sir Alex Ferguson to try and be a title winner. And it took time, it didn't work out. And we've seen many managers go on to that and realise how difficult a job it was. First round at West Ham, I think he did OK. But I think then their expectation rose. So they thought, well, they needed somebody with more experience, a bit more sort of wow factor pizzazz, and they tried that, spent more money, didn't work out. David Moyes got appointed back again, and I was just listening to something on the way in, actually. They said he come in, he said, I win football games. That's what I do. I've got a good percentage. And I thought that was a really brave statement to go back into West Ham, who are not having the best of times, and put himself under pressure. He's proved right. He's backed himself. I think he's got a good understanding, a good staff behind him. And it all comes down to being allowed to have that work ethic. They've got owners who understand the game very, very well, who've been in it for such a long time. But will he be now allowed to continue? He's actually out of contract. How they've not given him a new contract, I don't know. What's happening there? Are they expecting some change? Because you'd think straight away, with the job he's done, they'll be backing him to take the club further.
I think as well, for West Ham over previous years, they've had mismatched sort of recruitment policies. They've never signed the right players to fit into the team. And you look at the players that he's brought in this season, they've all worked, they've all done really well. They're all of a similar sort of mould. He wants people to work hard, and he wants players who add to the team rather than individuals. And I think they seem to have got it spot on. And I can't believe that.
Suchek especially, you know, you say
even Dawson, who's sort of been in the Premier League before, not stood out or on. He's come in, he's been outstanding, and maybe with Lingard coming in, he's the one that just adds that little bit of flair to an already really solid team.
I really wish him well. Obviously not today. I don't want them to win today, clearly.
You seem quite pleased that he didn't do so well at Manchester United, but now you sort of think, well, I've got a soft spot for West Ham. I like David Moyes again, and I can move on from that.
That's totally it, you know. It's because they didn't like him. Now I like him, and I want him to do better than they do, obviously. And I loved it at his press conference when he said those stats, although he did get mocked a bit for it, didn't he? But good luck to him after today. Now, another manager that has incredible stats and really does have incredible stats is our own Pep Guardiola. And here's what he had to say just before the game.
Pep, you're on an amazing run right now, but this is a big test against a side that's also in form, and also with the added factor of that long journey in midweek, it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, after 3/4 of the league, and they are in Champions League positions. It's not because they have done a good month. There's many games doing well. So, yeah, they are doing a fantastic season.
You said on Wednesday night that you'd make 5, 6 or 7 changes. You've gone for 7. The rotation's working. I suppose the headline is the fact that Aguero's first start for 4 months. It's been a long road for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, many games. So we have 2 days. Our recovery is not much, and we have a fantastic squad. So, and everyone deserves to play. They are doing, all of them, incredible well, and yeah, fresh legs and very good mentality.
Very positive about West Ham. They work incredibly hard as a team. It looks like they might change their shape today. The
looks
3
like,
central defenders, yeah?
It looks like, yeah. 5 in the back, yeah. Previous seasons, they did it as well, so yeah, we knew it can play the normal shape with a 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1, but maybe 5 in the back. In Anfield, play 4-1-4-1. In Anfield, sorry, in Old Trafford, play 4-1-4-1. So, but the idea is the same. So, good runners up front and incredible 2 holding midfielders, and try to impose our game.
Best of luck today, Pep. Thank you.
That was the thoughts of Pep Guardiola, and he mentioned the game that we played against them last season, how they changed their formation. Not last season, sorry, earlier in the season. Of course, last year the game there was 1-1, the goals from Mikel Antonio and Phil Foden, and we're going to have a little look back at those highlights now. Michael, what do you remember about that game?
Well, I think obviously it was Mikel Antonio was obviously all the talk of what threat he can be, and he proves at times what he is. If the crosses come into the box, and he's very, very strong, very, very powerful. But it was a game I thought it was a little bit frustrating for Manchester City. Didn't start as well as you would have expected, and at that point it proved a difficult game. But now, since that, obviously the turnaround's been excellent, other performances have been good, so they can frustrate you, this West Ham side. That's what they do.
And Phil Foden obviously scored in this game as well. That we'll see in a minute, Richard. It was I remember it being a really great afternoon for him. Can you remember much from this game?
Same as Michael, really. It's one of those games. It doesn't stand out in the memory, because it was a bit of a drab 1-1 draw. Apart from the goal here by Antonio, which obviously for obvious reasons stands out. But I think it was in a period where Man City weren't on top form. They weren't scoring goals freely, and they weren't winning games freely.
Richard, that was the first time I'd seen Diaz sort of get something wrong, really. Do you know, he got too tight with Mikel Antonio, and that could be key today. And I don't know what you feel as a centre-back when you do that, is someone can't get hold of you at times if they're really strong, because then they've got the advantage, and I think he'd done that on him, where you've got to just stay a little bit further back on him.
Being new in the league, I think he doesn't know the players. He didn't realise the strength of some of the players, and a situation like that can happen. What we've seen from Diaz is it doesn't happen again generally. He doesn't tend to make mistakes on a because that
changed
occurrence.
The whole outcome. Do you know, we're talking about performance, we're talking about what you can bring at West Ham, but when that happened early on, the outlook changes, doesn't it? But
if you give them Martin to hang on to, well, then you're going to be in trouble, and that is that sort of thing. But I feel for defenders when they come into the league and they get into that physical battle against Premier League teams, some of them can go under, and some of them can go, I don't really fancy this, but the good ones come back.
So do you find, when you're trying too hard, so you're trying to impress, you're a new centre-back, and you're going really, really tight, and it's actually, sometimes, by having that sort of enthusiasm, it's worse for you. Because he's getting tight, and he's just got rolled, hasn't he?
It can be an ego thing as well, because you think, I'm stronger than him. I'm going to show everyone that I'm stronger than him. And it's not about who's the strongest. If someone's built themselves into the ground and you can't move them without giving away a foul, and that's what he's done. He's tried to move him out of the way. He's thought, well, I can lean on him and push the ball away. But Antonio's a strong guy, and he held his ground and scored the goal.
It's interesting because he'll see that now, I think, today, and thinking, well, they'll put the crosses in. They'll be aware of Souček coming inside as well. And I think Mikel Antonio, where will he mark him? Will he be more side on? Will he see the ball better? Will he not? And it was a hard lesson for him, I think.
For a centre-half, you don't want to get in. Certainly Antonio, when I was playing, there was Andy Carroll and people like that. You don't want to get into battles with them. And if you can keep an arm's distance with them, where you're always in contact, if they turn you can block a shot, great. But as soon as you get up against them, whatever it is, if they're big, strong, and you think you're big and strong, they can still turn you. You can't see the ball, and it just makes it a nightmare. So it is that. It's like doing that once, but educating yourself and understanding. Right, well, this is how I do this now.
I mean, if you could get moved, you are strong as well. So it just tells you, the players can use their body, can't they? And Diaz and Stones is a good combination. You've got real one strong defender who's going to come through and try and win challenges. John Stones is a little bit different, a little bit more cultured, and a little bit more, probably the one that you saw, he'd stand off and have a look and try and pinch and nick. It's a good combination, isn't it?
Do you think, Richard, that Diaz has been thinking about that goal or has rewatched that goal a few times? Did you personally in your career have times when there was a goal like that? Because obviously it's a great finish from Mikel Antonio, but we've talked about Diaz's involvement in it. Did you have times in your career where you looked back and you thought, you're not going to get me again?
Yeah, there is things, and it's like, whether it be, I remember marking Wnrh, and you go up and you go, well, I'll sort of steamroll him.
He was quicker.
Well, it was close.
You were quick. He was quick.
But because I was quick, and I thought in my head, well, I'll have a go. But I got too close to him, and then we played them again at an international game, and I thought, right, well, I can run him, I can have a race for him, but I need to give myself a head start this time.
Yeah.
So then I backed off a little bit, and then when he done the same thing, I was already further ahead of him because of where it was, and he ran out of pitch. So you do educate yourself as you play against players. You think, well, I can't get myself in that situation again because I'll get beaten. Certainly the players now, every goal, there's a reason why it's happened, and we always find the negative, the defensive side of it. So Diaz, being a top player, will look at it and go, right, it's a good finish. Could I have done that and better? And like Michael's saying, yeah, maybe he could have been a yard away from him. Maybe he could have given himself a better opportunity to win the ball. And
I think he got round to the right-hand side of him. When the cross is coming from the left-hand side, he was also the wrong side of him. Not only had he got held, he wanted to probably bring his body shape round a little bit more to be goal side, in between the goal and Mikel Antonio. And it's a great little thing now. Mikel Antonio will be thinking, well, I've got hold of you last time, I'm going to roll you. I know I've got you strength-wise, and it'll be a good little battle. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But psychologically, a lot of things come into players, footballers, when you've done well or when you haven't done well or when something's cost you. But now the actual footage and the detail and everything, so that now it won't be, I think they'll look at this goal especially, and they won't be actually just saying, well, it wasn't just Diaz, why didn't we stop the cross? Were we too deep? Were we not? And the details are remarkable, what they're given. Sometimes it's too much. You don't know whether to stick a twist, and that's the fine line. I think that's where Pep Guardiola and his team really, really get it right.
Psychology is really interesting because obviously we've got the psychology on our side now that this 13 league wins in a row, 19 wins in all competitions in a row. So do you think psychology for West Ham as well, maybe we need to do something here that nobody's been able to do in 19 games, so that must be on our side?
Yeah, I mean, for them, they can't look at what Man City's done. They have to look at what they're doing and how they're doing it, and they'll be quite happy today to draw or to get any sort of result, but they'll have confidence that they know. For them, the psychology is do what we have been doing because it's working. And it doesn't matter whether you're playing Man City, Man United, Liverpool, whoever it is. If you've got a style and a tactic that's working, you keep doing it. And they might lose, they might win, but they'll make it very difficult. And I think when you look at Man City, the psychology for them is incredible because it's not just a team that's won 20 games. It's all them players, every game, not making individual errors, keeping them.
Do you know what would be interesting for me, Richard, is how they'll how will West Ham set up? So you can say, oh, it's a back five, but we know full well that Declan Rice and Souček are comfortable in a 2. So they can move a Lingard or a Fornells, and then they can put them in wide areas if they want to be brave in that setup. People say, oh, well, we're going to see a back five today, a very defensive setup. They're going to sit back in, soak up all the pressure. But they could surprise us early on. They could actually put Lingard, Fornells out in wider areas, think, well, we're okay in the middle. We're going to back these 2. We're good down the wide areas, having the 2 wing backs in Johnson and Koufal. So they might think, well, we'll have a little bit more of a go. And it's whether they're brave enough. But managers to come here and try and do that and leave the 3 up, it'll be a big call. But it's a free hit for West Ham because they've had an incredible turn. So they might be a little bit braver than we think.
Yeah, we'll spend the first 5-10 minutes today looking at how they're set up, like we generally do for us, how we're set up. Because obviously we've mentioned 7 changes in the team today. Walker starts today in place of Cancelo, and obviously Cancelo's been having an incredible season this year. Cancelo, for me, has been a real revelation in terms of where he was last year and how he's developed this year. And he's almost playing he has been playing kind of 3 different positions, Richard, but playing 3 different positions all brilliantly.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. And I think it's a freedom which is being given. And it's almost like, right, you're a left back or you're a right back and you start there and you play that role, but when we have the ball, go and join in and go and be free. And his passing ability is second to none. He can create goals, he can score goals, and he's got a little bit of everything. And he also gives, like we've seen with Gundogan, who scored all the goals, he's given him the freedom to go forward. So I think, as a role, I don't think a lot of the Premier League teams have been able to identify how to stop it, and it's given them so much freedom. But the managers tried it previously with other players in that position, but you look at the technical ability of Cancelo, and there's not many fullbacks in world football that are capable of producing the level of performance that he's produced.
I think it's obviously he's known he's starting now, he's going to be a key member of the team, so I think that helps. You get fitter, you get an understanding of the Premier League and what Pep Guardiola demands from these fullbacks to learn that different role, which we haven't seen in many other sides. We've seen Pep Guardiola do it. I think what's great for him playing on that left-hand side, he has the ability to come in on his right foot, cross when needed or link up the play. But he's done well on both sides of the pitch. I thought it was a nice balance at Mönchengladbach with Cancelo and Kyle Walker both coming in, stepping in when needed. Obviously Cancelo fantastic creating the goals. And he's really, at the top of his game, and this is what you now start to realise why he was brought to the club, and he's enjoying it, isn't he?
Yeah, and really interesting at points this season. He's been playing, obviously, when Kevin De Bruyne was injured, he's been playing up there almost in that number 10 position, and being a full-back that moves into the middle and becomes a playmaker, which, when you say it like that, it sounds nuts.
Yeah, no, I get that. He's found himself in his opportunities because when the space is there, when they empty the space, whether it be Gundogan, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva was excellent the other night, then the space is there for him to travel into. But that's down to your teammates. It's not necessarily saying, well, OK, you're going to turn up at a number 10 position. I don't think that's ever forecast to do that. It's to go and sit at that base of the midfield role, to be an extra pass, to link, to get out, to give the centre forward something to think about. And the midfielders then, they don't know whether to go, stay, but when you run them away, so it's all down to the other midfielders creating that space. And then if it's there, he will step in and follow. That's just natural.
I think, when you look at Man City's team, they all have those positions. And if the left winger comes inside, the left back will take that on the outside or wherever it may be. It then takes that one player with probably that extra bit of intelligence to spot where the space is. And that's what you're seeing with Cancelo. He seems to identify where he can get the ball next, where it's going to come next, and where he can cause the most amount of damage, really. And I think people have watched him this season and go, wow, that's incredible. And it takes a massive amount of intelligence to be able to identify those spaces when you're on the pitch. From up here, it's great, because we can look down and go, well, he should be there or he should be there. To do it down at pitch level is amazing.
Do you think, though, going long-term, going forward, does City need a left-footed player who can do that? To get down the left? That's always a natural, isn't it, of an out. That when he gets to sort of over the halfway line, you can push it with your comfortable foot, play inside. than having the right-footed left-back long-term.
I understand, but I think it actually works well when Cancelo plays right-back, and they do have that balance across the back line. But I think for City, they need people to come in, because as he comes in, he dribbles inside with the ball, he can lay it off, and then it gets passed back out wide, and he can go find another position. So I don't think necessarily you want to look and see Mendy doing it or someone like that. I think the way the balance of the side is, it works well with Cancelo when he plays on the left, and I think you spoke earlier about different players suit different games, and sometimes you need him on the left coming in, or sometimes you need him on the right, maybe staying a little bit wider. And I think just the individual performances of him has stood out and made the tactic work well.
As you're talking about that, I can hear Andy Morrison repeatedly saying in my head about patterns, talking about the patterns of the play and how it works. Also, looking at Cancelo and obviously saying about how much of an intelligent player he has and how much intelligence you have to do to be able to do what he's doing. Pep obviously has a bit of a history of doing this with other fullbacks that he's worked with, so like Philipp Lahm, Dani Alves, David Alaba. But you've got to have the intelligence as a player to start with. And then do you think Pep kind of spots that and then works with them and is it a sign of a really great coach that he can do that?
Yeah, I think to identify the person to play that role takes some doing to start with. You can't just say to anybody, you go and play in this, and when you get the ball, just be free. You need to understand the personality first and foremost. Then you can start to work it out and say, right, he's finding the right positions, but how can he be more dangerous? Can we get him higher up the field? And it may not be in necessarily Cancelo's place. It might be right, well, this is working well with this guy, but what about if Gundogan gets that freedom to push forward now, or De Bruyne or whoever, and then you end up, like you see, when they do the overhead shots, it's almost like 3 defenders, 2 midfielders and 5 attackers, and it just causes so much trouble for the opposition.
I tell you what is funny though, isn't it? Some of the players who get put in positions and some are not the most intelligent. And actually you talk about now of the detail you've got to take out, and you always used to have that laugh in the dressing room, didn't you, thinking, seriously, you're not going to expect him to keep doing that. Just give him the ball.
Names. We need
give
names.
him the ball and he's amazing. Just let him go and do what he wants to do. Just keep him. And him as a centre-back, if he's saying, keep that wide player away from in front of me. I don't want him anywhere near him with the ball, because at some point he doesn't concentrate. So it's such a fine line of getting it right and understanding that. But I think when the ball's controlled so much that City have, I think it's much easier to go and join in and have, because you're really pushing teams all the way back. I think when you start to see it is late stages in a Champions League game against the best of the best, is difficult then when you've got somebody not used to a role.
So we want to know as well what your feelings are about Cancelo, but we want you to do it in one word. So get onto your social media, get onto Twitter and use the hashtag WNRH. And tell me in one word how you would describe Cancelo. And we're going to be, as always, reading out some of your tweets a little bit later on. Now, we also want to know as well, I don't want to jinx us by asking this, but I think we're playing so well that we're in a position where we are comfortable to say this now. 19 wins today in a row in all competitions. Today could be 20, 13 wins in a row in the league. How long do you think this unbeaten run is going to go? We want you to tell us how many games, how good, how phenomenal more can this team be? So use the hashtag WNRH, send us a tweet, and we love to hear from you. I love reading your tweets and seeing your little setups at home, how you're watching the game and your thoughts on the game. So yeah, do get in touch with us on social media. So guys, one word, describe Cancelo, one word.
I'm looking forward to it. What are you thinking?
Defender, midfielder, all over. That's not even one word.
Oh, it's so tough, isn't it? One word. I was listening to you saying it now. To say it's difficult. I just think just out of the ear, versatile. Just like
versatile. That. Good versatile. One. I don't think we can get better than that.
No, I'm just going to say intelligent.
Nice. I like that. Intelligent and versatile. I've got nothing better to add to that.
Player.
Player. What player?
He's a player. He's a player.
Right, well, we want to know. See if you can help us out there. Get your thesaurus out at home. It's easy for me to say that, isn't it? Get that out and let us know. WNRH. So obviously at the minute, we know we're playing pretty much 2 games a week, every single week. We've got a game against Wolves coming up. And last week, of course, we were back in Champions League action playing Borussia Mönchengladbach. And we, of course, won 2-0. So we have a 2-0 lead going into that home leg in a couple of weeks. Michael, what did you make overall of the performance midweek?
I thought it was an excellent performance. It had some tempo, it was controlled. And I felt like they just ground him down a little bit. To limit them to no shots on target till about 60 minutes tells you at this level in the Champions League, I think it was a really, really strong performance. I would say, being a little bit greedy, that City should have went on and scored more goals in this game to really, really see off any sort of threat. But I think it should be quite routine in the second leg. But, yeah, great performance. If you'd have said you'd have gone away and won the game so comfortably, you would have took it all day. It was a night for Gabriel Jesus, wasn't it? Bernardo Silva, excellent. Cancelo obviously took the headlines with some great assists.
I think it's fair to say that we were wasteful. I think wasteful's a fair kind of... we've got to be honest. Sometimes, obviously, we won, but there was a few chances that we missed. And Pep talked about it in his post-match interviews as well. But it happens, doesn't it, Richard? It happens sometimes. We still won, so we know we've got to be more clinical sometimes, but it happens sometimes.
It does happen, and you just don't want it to happen too often. We've seen what happened against Lyon in the Champions League last season when they missed a couple of chances and they end up getting caught out. So I can understand the manager's frustration, and you're never going to get every game where you score all your chances, but when you get so many, you want to be starting to look to get 3 or 4. For me, what impressed me is the fact that they're keeping clean sheets in Europe as well. I know it's something they've got used to in the Premier League, but it's been a trouble over the last few years in Europe, and I think it was important to get off that first away game with a clean sheet.
It is true. Literally, at this stage of the Champions League, there was a team there that gone away from home and they didn't even trouble Manchester City. So that tells you the control they had in the game and the respect. And I think all around Europe now, people are concerned to play Manchester City. The big teams are looking and they're thinking these are on a real run, and the fear factor could be key. And keeping this run up, people will be aware of it and just keep dominating like they are. We're too greedy at times. We've got to understand that it's the Champions League. It's true, isn't it? We're getting a little bit greedy, and we come here today and we take against a good West Ham side and we say, oh, is it going to be 3-0, 4-0? Win the game. Pep Guardiola say 1-0, brilliant, that's fantastic. Love to have 3 points against a difficult side, but we've been spoiled. We're seeing a side with wonderful players, and we've just got to be careful we don't get too carried away at times.
Yeah, absolutely agree. The standards that we've set ourselves is so high now that, when you win 2-0 but you miss a couple of chances, you're like, oh, we should have scored more. But yes, no, I totally agree, and I love the idea of the fear factor as well. But it does feel like for that Champions League game, we are in the driving seat now coming into the home leg, and that's what you want.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very much so in the driving seat. They won't want to come. They'll be realising, thinking, how do we get out of it? Do we open up early? They know the threat that sort of encounters. The manager wants to play football with the side, but he's also cautious. And again, it'll be a team coming thinking 45 minutes, we'll just sort of sit tight. You can see that. I can't imagine them coming straight out, because the game plan, they'll know that won't work. They'll try and nick a goal sort of into the wherever they can, but again, not being too adventurous. And it's a great statement. Now, just think, keep this form up, keep people fit. It's the best we've seen for the football club regards to players available, and hopefully, because there's been some real injuries, hasn't there, that we've had to cope with over the season, over the end of since lockdown, and now, hopefully, with these amount of games, that's going to be key till the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just Nathan Ake just now that's not fully fit. That's an incredible position to be in just now. So we've got about 16, 17 minutes now till kick-off in the game against West Ham today. And you can, of course, get live commentary for the whole game from the wonderful Alistair Mann on this City app on City Plus. So do have a little listen to that if you are not watching it live. And, of course, West Ham. Richard, you had a good few games against West Ham when you were at City. And there's one that I just wanted to pinpoint, which was back in 2010. 2006, a game that you played against West Ham. And I'm pinpointing it because I was there. I remember being there. I was living in London at the time. I was only there for a couple of years. I had to come back up north. I had to get back to Manchester. But I had a couple of years down there, and I went to every single London game, and I was there. So back in 2006, a game that you played in, it was a 1-1 game. Can you remember? I love it when we ask you former players like this. A game from 14, 15 years ago. Can you remember anything about it? We won 1-0.
No. I can certainly remember it wasn't a top 4 clash at that time.
Can you remember the game?
Do you know what?
Do you know, as a supporter, or do you remember something that's travelling? Because it's amazing that people ask players, don't they? They feel, oh, how was the game? And it's you don't always think of them.
I will remember if I had a good day. I generally don't remember what happened on the pitch, but I can remember going to the bowling ground back then was fab because there was a pub near there that they let you go in as an away fan, because not often as an away fan do you get to go in a pub that's near a ground. And I think this game as well, if my memory serves me right, was near Christmas or near New Year's Eve. So that my memories are generally around the day out, Michael, as opposed to the game.
Just seeing something there made me remember what actually happened on one occasion. There was because Teddy Sheringham was playing, and I remember Stuart Pearce coming up to and telling us before the game, just take the ball off him. He's 40, he's older than me, he can't run. Just go and take the ball off him. But it's one of those things where you look at players and you go, it's Teddy Sheringham, he's the Teddy Sheringham of 10 years ago. And it sort of gives you that little bit of confidence to go, well, maybe, yeah, and you feel that little bit more. And I can't remember how we played or whatever.
Did you get the ball off?
Yeah, did you get it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's easy saying that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just go and take it off him. I mean, Teddy could move the ball, couldn't he? Away from you. It didn't matter if he didn't run, he just knew straight away.
He wanted you to come and try and take it off him so he could play around you. But no, West Ham's a great, certainly the Upton Park used to be a great stadium to go to. I remember going there with Sven the first game of the season when we had a brand new team, and we went and won 2-0, and we had some good victories at West Ham, but it was always a difficult place to play.
The atmosphere was really good, wasn't it? You know, and you're turning up, and it was ruthless. You knew full well you're going to get a bit of stick when you were coming out or walking anywhere near it, or the supporters would give you some. And so I think that was all something we were growing up enjoying, that sort of rivalry, that banter, that sort of passion from the fans. And it's a bit different for them now. For the distance when you go, it's nowhere near the same. That's one thing that's a little bit different for them.
So the goal that day was scored by DeMarcus Beasley. Now I have to admit, I'd forgot that DeMarcus Beasley played for us. So producer Tom, now DeMarcus Beasley would have been a great choice for Guess the Blue because I forgot that he played for us. But he did score in the 83rd minute there. Love it. I love a last 10-minute winner as well.
We're going to see if Dunne's running to the corner all the way from centre back to see if he gets there, or he thinks, I'll just stay on the halfway line and wait. Where is he coming or not? Where are you, mate? Where are you at the celebration?
Great finish, and Stuart Pearce going wild there on the sidelines. In terms of going to a ground like that and scoring a late winner, I bet that was a bit spicy with the fans afterwards.
There's nothing better than scoring away from home towards the end of the game, because you've had 80 minutes of just getting abused by fans or whatever it may be, getting all sorts of things shouted at you. To then go and nick it towards the end is always a great feeling.
I'm surprised Stuart celebrated like that. Do you know, at West Ham, he was really going for it, wasn't he, there? And just shows emotions in football at times can be incredible.
And then producer Tom mentioned to me before the game about something called the chicken run that they used to have at that ground. Can you tell me what that is?
Thought you had to run like a chicken. No, you know so well, you know, down that corner, historic, and he was trying to explain about it before, wasn't he? But I just missed the stadium and that sort of, and when you warmed up down the side and you get that sort of banter, that stick. That was one place you knew you were going to be in a little bit of trouble.
I think as you ran down the line, you would just get people shouting at you, and you just wanted to run back to the bench as quick as you could and sit down and just say, yeah, I'm warm. Either put me on or not. I'm not going warming up again.
I bet that's what Main Road was like as well. Did you ever come back to Main Road as an opposition player?
Yeah.
I bet it was like that.
Yeah, it was. You do get a bit of stick, and the supporters can be a little bit nasty. And it's hard because for you, when you come back to your former team, you just want it to go well. You want to come out of it all right. It was a little bit difficult for me, the way I played.
Yes.
So if you come back to your former team...
What do you mean, Michael?
So when you went back to your former team and you start mixing it up, well, straight away, the love that they had for you can change because you're really rattling in. But Yeah, so I could say on occasions coming back against my former sides, I did upset a few, but that's you've got to do that. You've got to do what you believe in, and it's one of those. But I really look for the fixtures against my former sides. There was nothing better, and right at the end of my career playing for Leeds United, I feel like you would never get a chance to play back at Manchester City. We drew them in the cup. I think it was 4-0. 4-0 City, very comfortable. But for me personally, it was my last sort of opportunity to come back and play. So the great memories, you've got to go and play against your former sides is nice. And we've seen, didn't we, with Zabaleta.
But that also reminds, the reason why we love players like you, the kind of, the sort of spicy players like you, that not afraid on the pitch, and then you come back and do that against us. It's just a reminder of why we liked you.
It is, but you've got to be careful because you do get yourself in a bit of trouble. That Leeds day, I think Neil Warnock took me off at half-time and said, "Come on, mate, you're going to get yourself into trouble. Don't ruin it anymore. Just get off." And when you're giving Yaya a little bit of stick around his ankles and. Yeah, it's difficult. But
that was brave, crikey.
It's got to be brave, yeah. So, listen, you can't let him play, can you? That's for sure. He's an excellent player, wasn't he? Amazing, really. So, yeah, it's great memories. And there's so many special stories about going to different grounds and different venues. But West Ham, I think, was a real football, proper, hard place to go.
As I say, I loved it as a fan. Part of the reason why I loved it as a fan as well, when I wasn't living in London for those couple of years, because you had a cracking night out afterwards as well. Did you guys? Obviously, we get all the real football journalist questions that you want here on this show. Did you have any good nights out in London after you played down there for games like West Ham?
I would say probably.
He can't remember them, they were that good. Yeah. I would say most definitely, probably all the players have managed to sneak a trip to London after a away trip, that's for sure. But then over the years, they got a little bit wise to it. The manager's thinking, London trip, we're all back, we're training on the Sunday, or everyone's back on the coach to avoid these full team outings.
Oh, full team outings. I like that. That's a good way of putting it.
It was more of a bonding trip.
I like
so
that,
we'll stay down and we'll enjoy the weekend, especially towards Christmas,
team
December.
Building.
Team building turned into Saturday, Sunday, and possibly Monday if you could make it back to training. Good weekends.
Brilliant, and that's why you watch this show, for all of these little secret insights that you get about the trips out to London. And Noah, thank you so much for everybody that is watching today, our wonderful fans all around the world. We do love to celebrate our fans, and we do it here on We're Not Really Here every week. Sometimes the fans are from the other side of the world, sometimes they're a little bit closer, sometimes they're across a little sea or a little bit of water. And today we are celebrating the amazing supporters club from Guildford, and that is not down south, that's in Northern Ireland.
The club was formed in Guildford, a small village outside Lurgan, in August 1976, and we pride ourselves as the oldest club in Northern Ireland. It was formed because of a surging interest in the local area. In the mid-1800s, the Reverend Arthur Connell was the minister in Shankill Parish Church in the town centre in Lurgan. He then relocated to Manchester to St Mark's Harrogate, where he and his daughter formed St Mark's FC. For those who know their city history, then changed to Gorgon AFC, then to Manchester City. This is our town and club's famous connection to the city club we all follow.
Thank you so much, Guildford. We love you. We don't love your tripod or cameraman, though, who we think may have had a couple of drinks before he filmed that. But thank you so much. We love you. And our Junior Blue of today as well is also from Northern Ireland. Our Junior Blue today is Maya. She's 9 and she's from Belfast.
Hi, my name is Maya. I'm 9 years old and I'm from Belfast. I am the junior citizen of the match today against West Ham. I am a midfielder for Berlin Swift at same as my favourite football player KDB. My mummy and my football coach both support Man United and I love when City beat them. Come on, City!
Brilliant. I love you, Maya. You need to try and convert your mum, though, Maya. What what are they doing? But well done, you. I love seeing our junior blues as well. They're always super, super passionate. Now, on to my favourite part of the show, as you all know by now. It is our Guess the Blue. Now, we've had a bit of a word with producer Tom because it's been pretty easy. The last time Michael and I were on, it was it Uwe Rosler? And
I think it was Uwe Rosler.
And we got it in about
I don't think there was one wrong, was there?
No, everybody that tweeted in, every single tweet was right. So, Guess the Blue, if you don't know, if you are watching for the first time, welcome. We take a picture of a former City player and we kind of blur it up a little bit and then we try and guess who it is. Now, there's a good chance here that we're going to know it instantly. So we won't say anything because we want you guys to tweet in again using hashtag WNRH. Right, let's have a little look at today's Guess the Blue. Okay, so you've got a black and white shirt there. And I'm going to say that's an EIJOS shirt. I think that's back in the days there.
I think you've got that, I think.
Yeah. I think I pretty much remember the blonde-tipped hair there.
It was a bit fast, that. We didn't get to see it for long, did we?
Don't think we needed to, did we?
Is that a clue?
Oh, nice. Got that, Richard?
Yes. I think it depends on what generation of team you're watching, you know, and certainly for us, that's the sort of spot-on generation. So
there's another tip for you. Spot-on generation for Richard Dunne. Spot-on for me, remembering back then in the EIDOS days. I loved that shirt, though. That was a nice shirt. So, yeah, let us know who you think that is. Use hashtag WNRH. To be honest, I'm probably going to start asking you to message in who it isn't. Like, tell us, like, the absolute wildest guess of who that's not. Because you're so good at getting them all.
Moving swiftly on to the team news, I think
Yes.
we have to go.
And I've challenged producer Tom as well. You've got to watch it on Tuesday night. I've challenged producer Tom ahead of the Wolves game to try and do a super, super hard one. But anyway, back to today's game. Kick-off very, very shortly against West Ham today. We're going to take a little look again at the team news for City today, in case you have missed it. So a bit of a recap for you. Today's starting 11 in goal. It is Ederson, and then a back four of Zinchenko, Stones, Diaz and Walker. Moving into midfield, you've got Fernandinho, Ilkay Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Riyad Mahrez, Ferran Torres, and then starting today, we have again Sergio Aguero. And then moving on there to the West Ham team as well. Forgive me while I quickly get that up. The West Ham team for today, starting in goal for them is Randolph. And then they have a back three, maybe back five. Who knows? We'll work it out in the first 5-10 minutes of Diop, Dawson and Cresswell. Kufal, Souček, Rice, Johnson, and then up front, Fornals, Lingard and Mikel Antonio. So that is your two starting 11s for today's game against West Ham. And kickoff is about 5 minutes away, so not long at all. So, gents, we'll just have a kind of wrap-up feeling about today's game. We've talked in depth about West Ham and City today. What are you thinking going into the game now? How's your thoughts? What's your feelings about the game, Michael?
Well, I'm looking forward to the game. I think it's a real test. It's a different test. We're coming up against a side who are in form, as we've said, since the turn of the year. So it could be a difficult game. I feel like Manchester City, with the confidence that they've got, should be able to go and control it, move the ball around. But let's try and see some early momentum. Can we get that early goal to sort of then be able to see out the game? So, again, it's just a result. We want to see a great performance, ideally. But if you're saying to me we're finishing the game with a win, again, fantastic. Putting the pressure on in the league, which was great form, a clean sheet would be fantastic also.
And if you have to push you for a result, push you for a score prediction, what are you thinking?
Well, we've been thinking about this, and I would have liked you guys to have gone first. But
That's why I went to you.
I'm torn between a 3-0 and a 3-1 because, you know, West Ham are dangerous. They can, obviously, from set pieces, really, really good. But I'm going to go with 3-0.
Okay, I like that. I'll definitely 100% take that right now. Richard, what would you like to see from City today?
I think looking at the two teams today, I think what we've seen from Man City is a lot of play through the middle of the field. I think West Ham will pack those areas, so it might be a case of the two wingers staying high and wide and trying to attack them on the outsides to make their full wing backs probably drop back a little bit. So sounds like it's set up almost for plenty of crosses in along the ground for Aguero to get in and get opportunities. And like Michael, I believe it's going to be a difficult game. I think it's not going to be a free-flowing game because West Ham will try and disrupt Man City's play. But I've gone really for a 2-0 home win today.
2-0 home win, 3-0 home win. I'm going to take either of those. I never want to say that we're going to concede these days, so I'll take one of those. Thank you so much for joining us here today on We're Not Really Here. We will, of course, be back at half-time for some instant analysis. We'll be taking another look at the Guess the Blue. And we've also got a nice Kyle Walker nutmeg clip to show you all at half-time as well. And don't forget, if you're not watching the game today live on TV, you can listen to wonderful commentary from the brilliant Alistair Mann on the City app and on City Plus. Right, we'll see you at half-time.